CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I ordered a haunted doll from the dark web to test my podcast audience. It screamed my name last night. Alright, so before I even start this, I just want to say, I know this sounds fake, like one of those dumb, made-up Reddit stories, or some clickbait horror YouTube video with a red circle around a blurry doll in the corner. But I swear on everything, this actually happened. My name's Sean, I'm 23, and I run this little podcast on Spotify and Apple called Unreal Realities. It's not big or anything, maybe like 2,000 listeners a week, but people seem to vibe with it. I basically cover bizarre internet stories, dark web tales, haunted TikToks, ARGs, and all that kind of weird creepypasta adjacent stuff. Think if BuzzFeed Unsolved and Luna had a baby that lived on Reddit. Anyway, a few weeks ago, I did an episode on haunted objects on eBay. You know, all that Annabelle level nonsense, cracked porcelain dolls with bad energy, rings that cause nightmares, the usual spooky clickbait stuff. I kinda joked throughout the whole thing, calling it a grift. But then, someone messaged me after the episode aired. No name, no profile pic. Just a burner Instagram account that only had one post, a pitch black photo with the caption, "If you're not scared, prove it." They sent me a link to a deep web marketplace. Now before you ask, yes, I know how to use Tor. And no, I don't recommend going down that rabbit hole unless you know what you're doing. I've researched deep web stuff for episodes before, but I never actually bought anything from there. This link took me to a storefront called Mommy's Basement. Total 2003 creep show energy. The background was this disgusting wallpaper of peeling yellow tiles, like the inside of a hoarder's bathroom. The header image was literally just a rotting teddy bear with black button eyes and something red on its fur. Not blood, exactly. More like ketchup mixed with old grease. Anyway, I scrolled through, and there it was. Vessel number 0837. Cursed doll. Screams at night. The description was vague as hell. Said it was used in ceremonial binding rites in northern Maine, and that it should not be kept near mirrors or live recordings. Price: $19.99. Shipping included. So I ordered it. Not even because I believed it was haunted. I just thought it'd be cool content for the pod. Plus, worst case scenario, I waste $20 and get a free conversation piece. The box showed up 3 days later. That's when things started to get weird. First of all, the package was wrapped in what I swear looked like an old fast food bag. Not like a brand new one. Like one that sat in a McDonald's dumpster for 2 weeks. It was greasy and smelled like moldy pickles and iron. Inside that was a shoebox, duct taped within an inch of its life. I had to stab it open with a steak knife. I remember thinking, okay, this is getting kind of extra. Then I saw the doll. And yeah, no offense, but it was ugly as hell. Like, imagine if Chucky and a Bratz doll had a kid during a meth binge. The face was cracked and lopsided. Eyes 2 different shades of brown, one of them glass, the other, I think, painted on. The mouth was stitched shut with thick black thread, like someone tried to stop it from talking. Its hair, a greasy mess of what looked like actual human strands, not the fake Barbie kind, like real, dirty, matted hair, still smelled faintly like cigarette ash. I set it on my desk, plugged in my mic, and recorded a quick unboxing reaction for the pod. Mostly me making jokes about how it probably came from a 5 Nights at Freddy's clearance sale. I ended the episode by saying I'd leave the doll in my room overnight and record any weird sounds for science. That night was when I heard the first scream. I sleep with a white noise machine on because I can't fall asleep without it. But around 2:43 a.m., I remember the time because I checked. The white noise just cut out, like someone yanked the plug. Everything went dead silent. Then I heard this shrill, muffled scream come from the corner of my room. Not a woman, not a child, just this weird in-between wail, like it was being smothered through fabric. I turned the lights on. Nothing. Doll was sitting right where I left it. Next morning, I checked my podcast recorder. Nothing. Audio file corrupted. I even posted about it on my TikTok with the caption, Haunted Doll 1, Sean 0. It got like 30,000 views overnight. People were DMing me like, yo, that's fake, but cool edit. Others were saying, you shouldn't be messing with that stuff, bro. That's how it starts. I thought they were just trolling. But then, that night, it got worse. I was editing the next episode around 1 a.m. Doll was behind me on the shelf. I went to get some water and came back to find my monitor turned off and my headphones playing a recording of my own voice saying the words, "He knows you took it. He's coming tonight." I sat there frozen. I didn't record that. I never said that. And I checked the playback folder. There was no file. Just empty static files labeled 0837-0837-0837, all with the same size, 6.66 megabytes. No joke. I unplugged the mic, turned everything off, and shoved the doll in my closet. But before I could shut the door, I swear on my life, it moved. Not a lot, just a twitch of the neck, but enough that I heard the fabric creak, like the joints weren't sewn solid. I left it there anyway, slammed the door, and tried to laugh it off. Maybe I was tired. Maybe it was all just nerves. But then the screaming started again. Except this time, it said my name. I'll post part 2 tomorrow if anyone actually wants to hear more. I've got video, audio, and stuff from my Ring cam that'll back up what I'm saying. This isn't just a podcast bit anymore. Something followed me, and I think it wants to be heard. I didn't sleep that night. After it screamed my name, I just sat there in bed, blanket pulled up like I was 5 years old again, just waiting for the scream again, waiting for the closet to creak, waiting for whatever the hell was going to crawl out next. I remember checking the time constantly. 3:01 a.m., 3:16 a.m., 4:09 a.m., the kind of night where time moves like molasses and the air gets heavy, like it's pressing against your skin. By the time sunlight started bleeding through the blinds, I was still fully awake, feeling like my brain had been microwaved. My mouth was dry as sand. I didn't even want to get up, but I had to pee so bad my kidneys were practically vibrating. So I got up. I shuffled to the bathroom, and I remember thinking, if that doll is in here, I'm throwing it in the fucking garbage disposal. I opened the door, and there it was, standing, in my shower, not sitting, not lying, standing, leaned forward against the glass, like it was staring at the hallway through the frosted pane. Its tiny cracked hand was pressed to the shower wall, like it was trying to listen to something. The worst part? Its head was tilted, just slightly, like it was reacting to me. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just stood there in my underwear, shivering, staring back at it. I didn't put it there. I know I didn't. I'd shoved it in my closet the night before. That door was still shut. I checked later. It was still shut from the inside. I slammed the bathroom door, grabbed my keys, and left my apartment. I didn't even grab my shoes. I went out in socks and sweats, like I was running from a crime scene. I sat in my car in the Starbucks parking lot for almost an hour, just trying to process what the hell I saw. Then I did what any stupid horror-obsessed 23-year-old podcaster would do. I decided to go back in and film it. I set my phone to record, opened the bathroom door, and it was gone. But what I did see made me nearly piss myself. There were tiny black footprints on the shower floor. Not human prints. Not animal prints either. They looked like elongated fingers, like something had been crawling in there on its hands. There were streaks, greasy blackish brown streaks, dragged across the white tile like oil mixed with blood. I leaned in to get a closer look, and the smell hit me like a wall. Rotting teeth. If you've ever smelled a dead animal's mouth, you know the scent. Like infection and metal. Like something that used to breathe. I nearly vomited. Legit gagged so hard I dropped my phone. The screen cracked on the tile. When I picked it up, I realized the camera was still recording. So I scrubbed back through the footage to see if I caught anything. What I found didn't make sense. At exactly 4:03 a.m., while the phone sat on my desk, overnight, the doll walked past it. Not like a blur. Not like some ghostly flicker. It straight up walked, frame by frame. You can see the legs moving in this disjointed, stuttery way, like a stop-motion puppet. It turned its cracked little face toward the camera, and just before walking out of frame, it raised its hand and pointed directly at the lens. I paused the video there and stared at it for like 10 minutes straight. My hand was shaking. My stomach was doing flips. This wasn't fake. This wasn't an edit. I didn't touch that footage. And if you're thinking, okay, maybe you're sleepwalking, maybe you moved it. Here's the thing. I checked my ring cam. At 3:59 a.m., the hallway camera triggered. It caught my bedroom door opening slowly, by itself. Then a shadow, small, hunched, twitchy, moved across the floor. Not a doll, not human, just a slithering humanoid shadow that jerked like it was being yanked by invisible wires. It stopped at the bathroom and laughed. The audio picked up this horrible, raspy, choking giggle, like a toddler being strangled while trying to laugh. It didn't sound human. It didn't sound like it belonged in this world. At that point, I was done. I called my buddy Alex, who sometimes helps with the pod's video edits, and told him I was going to drop the doll off at his place because my Wi-Fi was acting up and I needed a change of scene. Total lie. I just wanted that thing out of my F-King house. I wrapped it in 3 trash bags, duct taped the hell out of it, and shoved it in the trunk. I didn't hear anything for the whole ride, until I parked. I texted Alex, "Yo, I'm outside. Pop your trunk." He replied, "Outside where?" I texted back, Your place? He replied, I'm not home. I'm in Florida. Didn't I tell you? My heart sank. He had. I remember him saying he was visiting family in Orlando, but I had just driven 45 minutes in a fugue state, like my brain filled in the blanks for me. The scary part? The house I was parked in front of was empty, lights off, for sale sign half collapsed on the lawn, windows boarded up with old planks, and yet I saw something move in the second floor window. I reversed so fast I almost took out someone's mailbox. I didn't go home. I drove to the Walmart parking lot and just sat there again, scrolling through my DMS. That's when I saw it. A new message on Instagram from the same burner account that sent me the deep web link. Only this time, it wasn't text. It was a video. I played it. It was footage of me, sleeping. Camera was maybe 2 feet from my face, low angle, right by my bed. I was snoring, mouth slightly open. Room was dark, but in the background, in the corner of the frame, the doll stood on the dresser. Then, at exactly the 13-second mark, it did something I still can't explain. It snapped its own neck, loud, sharp, like someone broke a chicken bone, and its head flopped sideways, but the eyes kept staring at the camera. Then it spoke, in my voice. Why did you take me? He knows where you sleep now, I screamed. I threw my phone into the passenger seat. I was hyperventilating so hard I almost blacked out. That was 3 days ago. I haven't been home since. I'm staying at a Motel 6 outside of town, and every night I still hear it. That high-pitched scream, muffled by distance. Sometimes it sounds like it's in the walls, sometimes the pipes. Once, it came from the air vent. I got a call this morning. Unknown number. When I picked up, there was only static, then a single whisper. It's not the doll. It's what was in it. I tried to throw it away, I really did. But when I went back home, the garbage bag was on my bed, still duct taped, still sealed. But the bed was soaked in that same foul-smelling black slime. And worst of all, there was a fingerprint on my pillow. A child-sized print, burned into the fabric like an acid mark. 5 fingers, and in the middle, scratched into the thread, was the number 0837. I've been documenting everything. I have the files, the videos, the ring cam footage, but I haven't uploaded any of it. I tried. The files won't leave my drive. They're stuck. Every time I try to send them, the screen glitches. The mouse moves on its own. I even tried using a USB. It fried my entire laptop, literally sparked and smoked. And now, every time I look at a reflective surface, mirror, glass, even my car window, I see it, standing behind me, staring, head still flopped to the side. I don't know how this ends, but I feel like the doll was just the invitation. Something else came through, something older, something that remembers me. You ever wake up and just feel wrong? Like, not groggy, not hungover, not even sick. I mean wrong. Like something has been tampering with your body while you slept. Like your organs got rearranged. Like your bones remember being touched. That's what I felt. It was sometime past 4 a.m. Motel room soaked in that faint chemical stench from those cheap cleaning sprays they use to hide mold. The air was stiff. I couldn't breathe right. I blinked myself awake slowly, confused, my throat dry. And then I saw it, on the nightstand. A mouth, not a face, not a mask, just a mouth. Human, wet, pale, shriveled like it had been peeled from someone's face and left in salt. The lips were sewn together with black twine, same twine the doll had stitched across its own mouth. It was sitting on the Bible the motel leaves in every drawer. Next to it, a note, burned around the edges, smelled like ammonia. Scrawled in shaky handwriting, it read, "You were talking too much. We gave you one of hers." I leapt out of the bed so hard, I hit my head on the TV. My nose started bleeding immediately. Fat, red drops hitting the Motel 6 carpet like splattered cherries. The worst part? The note wasn't written in pen. It was written in blood. And I'm not saying that for effect. I smelled it. The iron, the stink. It had texture. Thick, clotted, slightly dry. My first thought, run. But my legs wouldn't move. My knees were bent like someone had folded them wrong in the night. I had to crawl across the room to the bathroom, fingers digging into that ugly gray carpet like an animal. I slammed the bathroom door shut behind me, looked into the mirror, and froze, because taped to my chest, duct taped, was a Polaroid, a fresh one, still curling from the heat. I peeled it off. It was a photo of me, sleeping in that very bed. My eyes were shut, my mouth open. The doll was sitting on my chest, like it was right in me, and next to me, pressed up against the window, was a face, a human face, mouthless, eyes bleeding, staring at me like it knew me, like it was hungry. The window itself wasn't cracked open, it was locked from the inside. I started dry heaving into the sink. My stomach was doing flips. I splashed water on my face, looked up again, and that's when I noticed it. A string, black thread, hanging from the corner of my mouth. I reached up, pulled. It resisted, so I yanked harder. Population. The sound that came next will stay in my head for the rest of my life. Pop, 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 pop. Like popping zits from the inside of your lips. The thread had been sewn into my gums. 6 stitches, all done neatly, corner to corner, like someone had been practicing. And I don't sleepwalk. I don't sew. I don't have the pain tolerance to do something like that without waking up screaming. And yet, I had slept through it. I checked my phone. New notification from Instagram. That same burner account again. This time, a voice message. I listened. It was my voice, but not from any podcast episode, not from any recording I'd ever made. It sounded off, slowed, hollow, as if recorded through a tin can, underwater. The message said, "She said your mouth was pretty. She wanted to keep it for herself. Don't take it personal. She hates loud ones." My vision went blurry. I fell against the wall. I couldn't stop shaking. I started whispering to myself, like some mental patient. "It's just a dream. It's just the podcast. You're sleep deprived. You're just tired." But then, the doorknob turned. Slow, deliberate, metal creaking. I held my breath. I didn't move. The door stopped opening after a few inches, but I saw something slide through the crack. A piece of paper. I stared at it. Didn't pick it up at first. Just stared. Because it wasn't a note. It was a drawing. Hand-sketched, using some red-black crayon or marker. It was childlike. Sloppy. Looked like something out of The Ring. A picture of me, sitting in the podcast studio. Doll in my lap. My head was scribbled out, X'd over, and next to me, a girl, or what used to be one. Tiny body, no face, just a smooth stretch of skin where eyes and mouth should be. Black hair hanging over where her shoulders would be. She was pointing at me. Under the drawing was one sentence, written like a child learning to write. "Give it back, or we take your voice. Forever." And under that, another Polaroid, this time of my mother. She was in her kitchen. I recognized the tiles, and her mouth was also sewn shut. I threw up, right there on the bathroom floor. violent, barely breathing. My knees buckled, and I hit my chin on the sink on the way down. Blood started pouring from my gums. More thread spilled out. I couldn't scream, couldn't cry. I just lay there, convulsing. When I came to, the drawing, the photo, the mouth on the Bible, gone. My room looked untouched, clean. The thread in my gums, still there. I had the holes to prove it, but everything else vanished, like it never happened. I tried calling my mom 10 times, no answer. I FaceTimed her, no pickup, but she read the text. I could see the scene 8:44 a.m. mark. Still, no response. So I opened Instagram. I posted a story, just a black screen with text. If anything happens to me, don't believe the footage. And within seconds, the burner account replied, "They already have your voice. You should not have invited her. You opened the door with the podcast. Now she knows you're loud." At this point, I should have gone to the cops, or a hospital, or anywhere, but I didn't, because deep down, I knew. This wasn't something that doctors or police or priests could fix. This was deeper, older, rotting beneath the surface of everything. This was a deal I didn't know I signed, and I broke the terms. I went back to my house for one reason, to destroy the doll. I pulled up at 2:13 p.m., middle of the day, bright outside, neighbors walking dogs, Amazon trucks passing by. All normal, all human, but my house felt wrong. The windows were darker than they should have been. The grass was damp. The front door was slightly open. I walked in, heart racing, every instinct screaming at me to leave. The doll was sitting on my podcast chair, waiting, like it knew I was coming back, and there was a sound playing through my podcast mic, a woman's voice, software croaking, almost gentle. "It's better this way, Sean. She lives through sound. She loves your voice. We need your mouth. Your words are food. Your screams are worship." Then the doll's head slowly tilted toward me, and it whispered, not in my voice this time, not in anyone's, but in 3 different voices at once, layered, echoing, a child, a man, something else beneath them both. "We took her mouth. Now we take yours." I blacked out, woke up 2 hours later with the entire recording equipment melted. No fire damage, just melted, like the plastic had been poured. My mic was dripping, my keyboard sagged like wax, and in the center of the desk, a single tooth, still bleeding. There are some things you can't unhear. Not just disturbing sounds, not screams. I mean sounds that feel like they crawl into your head and make a permanent home there. Sounds that eat away at your brain like termites under drywall. I'll never forget the sound that doll made when I tried to burn it. But we'll get there. Let me tell you what led up to it first. I had one goal: destroy the thing. After the stitches, the mouth on the Bible, the voice messages, the tooth on my desk, I didn't want to solve the mystery or make a podcast episode about it anymore. I didn't care about views. This wasn't content. This was something else, something alive, something that made the air taste like pennies and meat. I'd seen enough. I just wanted it gone. So I went to the only person I thought might understand. Miles. Miles is this guy I interviewed once for the podcast, back in season 1, episode 3. He runs an occult shop out of this crusty strip mall behind an old Domino's on the edge of town. You wouldn't even know it was there unless someone showed you. No sign, no website. The place is literally just called Gods and Other Things. I brought the doll in a sealed toolbox, bolted shut with a padlock. I didn't say a word when I walked in, just handed the box to Miles with shaking hands and blood under my fingernails. He took one look at me and said, "What the FK did you invite into your house?" I told him everything. The sleep paralysis screams, the messages, the photos, my mom going radio silent, the doll standing in the shower, the mouth, the tooth. He didn't blink. He just asked one question. "Did you give it your name?" I hesitated. I remembered the unboxing when I joked into the mic. "My name's Sean, and today we're gonna see if this haunted doll can make me piss myself on air." I nodded slowly. Miles looked like someone just told him their kid ate rat poison. He sighed, grabbed a jar of what looked like ashes and cat hair, and said, "We're going to try something, but once it starts, you can't speak, no matter what it says." We drove out to this abandoned lot on the edge of the forest near Bellevue, the kind of place where junkies go to die and no one notices for weeks. Rusted shopping carts, old tents, crushed beer cans from 2 decades ago. Miles set up a circle of salt, poured a black ring of ash inside it, and placed the doll in the center. It was motionless until he lit the match. The second the flame touched the doll's foot, it screamed, not in pain, not like a movie scream. This was something else. This was my mother's voice. "Sean? Sean, please. Honey, I don't know where I am. It's dark. Why is it so dark? What is this thing? I can't feel my legs. I can't. Her voice cracked. She was crying. I froze. Miles shouted, "Don't respond." But I couldn't help it. I dropped to my knees and yelled into the flame, "Mom!" That was all it needed. The scream stopped instantly. And then something started, crawling out of the doll. Not physically, but like a shape behind the fabric of the world. I could see it without seeing it, feel it in my molars, like the shadow of a nightmare bleeding into daylight. The flames turned black. The ash line disappeared. The doll melted into itself, but didn't lose shape, almost like it had no body to burn, only a skin. And then I heard a second voice. Mine, but not me now. Me as a kid. "Mom, I can't sleep. There's something in the closet. It keeps saying my name." "Why does it know my name, Mommy?" I didn't remember saying that, but it was my voice from years ago. I backed away. The air was vibrating. The sky above us went darker. I swear I saw stars flickering like dying bulbs. And then Miles started convulsing, foam pouring from his mouth. His eyes rolled back. His tongue started falling out. Not cut. Falling, like it was rotting inside his mouth, unspooling in black chunks like overcooked meat. I screamed. I broke the salt circle. I ran. Cowardly? Yeah. But I knew what I saw. This wasn't a haunting. This wasn't a curse. This was a thing using the doll as a doorway, and I had opened it. I drove for 3 hours with no destination, just highways and gas stations, and too many signs that started looking like messages. "Speak no evil," painted on a water tower in red. "Your voice belongs to her now," scratched into the restroom mirror at a Love's gas station. "She's inside the wires, carved into a tree, off E75. Your mother is a recording," whispered through my Bluetooth when I tried to call my dad. Everywhere I went, it followed. Not the doll. Her. She didn't need the vessel anymore. She was in my voice, my devices, my content, my Spotify account, auto-posting new episodes. Ones I didn't record. One was titled "Screaming for Sean." Another, "She Lives in the Mic." And the latest, "Mom has no mouth, but she still calls." I played one. It was 18 minutes of screaming, and in the last 30 seconds, a phone call. My mother's voice. Again. Sean, why did you burn her? She was so small. She just wanted to be heard. You never should have said her name. Now she's hungry. She's inside the wires. Click, then static. I opened my podcast dashboard. Listens had skyrocketed. Over 4 million streams overnight. People were DMing me, tweeting things like, "Your new episode gave me sleep paralysis." My Alexa started repeating your voice. I saw the doll in my kid's room after playing your show. This isn't entertainment anymore. It's infection. She was spreading through my words. Every upload was a portal. Every listener, a new mouth to crawl into. That night, I smashed my laptop, deleted my social accounts, broke my phone. But it was too late. She was already in the cloud. And when I tried to sleep, there were mouths in my bed. Mouths, dozens, all sewn shut, whimpering, pressed into the mattress, slithering under the sheets like stitched-up worms. One of them opened, and it whispered, "She's going to wear your voice like skin." I can't speak anymore. Literally. My throat is gone, ripped up inside. Doctors found thread in my esophagus, said it looked like something chewed its way out. I haven't heard from my mother since. Her house, empty, locked, phone line dead. But sometimes I hear her voice, in static, in store speakers, in crosswalk signals, in random TikToks that autoplay at 3 a.m. Always the same sentence. "It hurts to be forgotten, Sean. You think it's just a story, just a podcast, just content. But she lives in the sound, and she's been listening. If you're listening to this, it's already too late. No intro, no sponsor, no outro music. Just my voice, burned and hollow, looped into a final transmission from somewhere between the ribs of this world and the teeth of the next. But I'm not alive anymore. Let me explain. You remember the doll. You remember the voice. You remember the recordings. But what you don't remember, what none of you could possibly know, is that this story was never about the doll. Not really. That was the bait, the costume, the real thing, the one behind the stitches and screams and threads. She's not bound to objects. She's bound to patterns, repetition, memory, playback. She lives in the idea of a voice. She was never in the doll. She was in the attention. The moment I hit record, the moment I spoke her into being, I invited her, gave her what she was starving for, an audience. It began ending 2 nights ago. I was in some grimy Airbnb in a city I don't even remember anymore. Everything's turned to static in my brain. You ever see those little white dots dance behind your eyelids when you rub them too hard? Imagine that, but inside your skull. Constant, buzzing. I hadn't slept in over 40 hours. I'd trashed all my gear, crushed my mic with a cinder block, smashed my iPad, deleted my podcast feed manually, burned every physical copy of a script or outline I had. I even ripped out the hard drive from my old laptop and tossed it into Lake Erie. But the next morning, I got a notification. New episode uploaded, final transmission. It had my voice, even though my vocal cords were severed. Literally. I'd gone to a hospital 2 days earlier because I woke up choking on my own tongue, only for the nurse to panic and call security when they looked down my throat and saw nothing but scar tissue and thread. No vocal cords, no way to speak. I'd been stitched shut from the inside. Yet here was a new episode, public, streaming on every platform. It had cover art, a warped, pulsating image of my face with no eyes and a speaker where my mouth should be. The episode was 44 minutes and 44 seconds long. I listened. What I heard destroyed whatever part of me still remembered what normal felt like. It started as white noise, then came a pulse, like a heartbeat filtered through a dying radio. Then whispers, not words, memories. I heard the sound of me asking my mom for cereal when I was 6. I heard myself crying in the dentist's office when I cracked my jaw in middle school. I heard the first time I ever said, I love you to someone. All of it. Every memory I'd ever spoken aloud, played back, out of order, warped, decomposing. Then, her voice, the girl, the thing, the presence. Whatever she is, you built me a stage. Now I will sing with your skin. You gave me a body made of listeners. That's when the episode started screaming, but not one scream. Thousands, layered, timed, human and not. Children, adults, even animals, all stitched together into this horrible stretching moan that shook me physically, made me vomit on the floor, made my ears bleed. I tried to turn it off, couldn't. Tried smashing the phone. It wouldn't break. I even bit through the charging cable in desperation, electrocuting myself so hard I blacked out for almost a full hour. When I came to, the phone was gone, but the screams were still playing from inside my chest. I stood up and realized the truth. I wasn't Sean anymore. I was a speaker. She had hollowed me out like a pumpkin, scraped the memories from my skull, and replaced them with feedback and whispers. I stumbled into the hallway, shirt soaked in blood, and every mirror I passed showed a different version of myself. One with no face, one with sewn eyelids, one crawling backwards on all fours with a mouth gaping across the entire chest, and one, just one, smiling. That version of me whispered, "They're listening, Sean. You gave them ears." The next morning, I was found by a cleaning lady in the hallway, curled into a fetal position with my jaw unhinged, dislocated, torn. She screamed, called 911. Cops came, paramedics followed. But here's the part that breaks the world. There was no record of me, no ID, no name on file, no phone registered. The Airbnb had no reservation under my email. The hospital had no prior visit from me, even though I'd been there just days before. It was like I'd been erased. And then they checked my mouth. Inside it, they found a microcassette tape, wound tightly with black thread, stained with blood and hair. The label? Episode 000. Her voice. The cops never released it publicly, but someone leaked it online, and it's still out there, spreading, unstoppable. Because the thing is, it doesn't matter if you believe me. You heard it, and that's enough. She lives in the playback, in the act of listening. She doesn't need your name anymore. She has mine, and she's hungry again. A final warning. If you see a new episode on your feed from a podcast you don't remember subscribing to, don't click. If you hear a voice in your headphones calling your childhood nickname, don't respond. If you ever find a doll on your doorstep with a thread running through its mouth, don't touch it. Don't even look at it too long, because that's not a doll anymore. It's a mouth, and it's speaking for her. Epilogue. Leaked police report extract. Subject found unresponsive at redacted location. Severe jaw dislocation, presumed self-inflicted. Lacerations and scarring indicate long-term exposure to corrosive substances inside the oral cavity. Vocal cords were entirely absent upon inspection. Smooth tissue present, stitched with organic thread-like material. Inside the esophagus, a second tape was discovered. Tape labeled Sean's Last Breath, unedited. Audio analysis pending. She doesn't haunt places, she haunts attention. Now that you've finished reading, she knows your voice too, and she's already repeating it. Right now, into someone else's ear, on a podcast they didn't remember playing, and she sounds just like you. Listener 0837, logged. Thank you for giving her your voice. I bought a mirror from the dark web that was used in a demon ritual. Now I don't reflect back. Yo, what's up? So I never thought I'd be that guy posting some wild horror story on Reddit. But here we are. And before you call BS, just know I wish this wasn't real. I'd sleep a whole lot better at night if it wasn't. This happened a few months ago, and honestly, I'm still trying to process it all. But if you're reading this, just don't do what I did. Don't go down the rabbit hole like I did. I had this idea right. I wanted to give my room a new aesthetic. You know how everyone on TikTok and Pinterest is doing those dark academia or cursed witchcore setups? Yeah, I got caught up in that trend. I wanted something different. Something creepy, but aesthetic. So I started looking online for antique stuff. Mirrors, skull candles, maybe a Ouija board I'd never actually use. Just for the vibes. Etsy was too expensive. Facebook Marketplace was full of junk. Then I saw this YouTube video, classic late night rabbit hole, about buying haunted items off the dark web. It was titled something like, "We spent $1,000 on a haunted box and regret everything." Super clickbaity, but I watched it anyway. That's where it started. I didn't even know how to access the dark web at first, but after like an hour of sketchy tutorial videos and setting up Tor, I found a marketplace. It didn't have a name, just a red logo that looked like a goat's head made of static. Already creepy, right? Most of the listings were the usual Creepypasta bait. Possessed doll, will cry at 3 a.m. Hair from a real witch, do not burn. That kind of stuff. But then I saw it. A listing simply titled, "Black Mirror, used in ritual. Do not buy if you are weak of spirit." It had one picture. The mirror was oval-shaped, like something out of Snow White, with a gold frame that looked melted or burned in places. The glass wasn't regular mirror glass either. It was black. Not like tinted, but like abyss-level black. You couldn't even see your hand in it. The description said, "Recovered from the site of an unholy ritual in the Austrian Alps in 2009. Last owner reported signs of inversion and vanished in 2016. Not for display use. Do not place across from another mirror." It was listed for $43. Pretty cheap for something with that kind of lore, and that should have been my first red flag. I bought it. The mirror came 3 weeks later. Plain cardboard box, no return address, just a wax seal on top. Deadass looked like it was stamped with a claw, like someone actually went through the effort to lop this thing hard. I was honestly kinda hyped. Thought it'd be a fun addition to my horror-themed TikTok skits. Maybe even go viral. Unpacking it was weird. The mirror was cold. Not cold because it was outside cold, but like refrigerator metal cold. Even after sitting in my 75-degree Fahrenheit room for an hour, it stayed that way. I propped it up on my dresser, facing my bed. I took a few selfies with it for Instagram. But here's the thing. When I looked at the pics later, I wasn't in them. Like, not even distorted. Just gone. The room was there. My posters were there. The mirror frame was there. But I was straight up missing. I thought it was a glitch. Maybe the lighting. I even posted one of them with a caption like, "Am I a vampire now? LOL." Got some laughs, but my cousin DM'd me like, "Bro, delete that. That mirror looks cursed." He wasn't wrong. That night, I started hearing things. You know how when you're half asleep and your brain makes up sounds? It wasn't like that. These were real sounds. Something tapping on the glass, like tiny wet fingers, then whispering, barely audible. But the moment I'd sit up, it'd go dead silent, like it knew I was listening. The next day, I went to Starbucks to get out of the house. Sat there for hours, just scrolling Reddit and pretending nothing was wrong. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, like the reflection of the mirror was following me, even though it wasn't there. I went home that evening and decided to test something. I turned on my phone camera and pointed it at the mirror. I was behind it, fully visible in the frame. But on the screen, nothing. Just my room and that same black void. My body didn't show up. It was like I didn't exist in the mirror's world. Then I did something stupid. I placed it across from my bathroom mirror. I was watching TV in the living room, trying to distract myself, when I heard a loud crack upstairs, like glass exploding. I ran up to my room, and the air felt heavy, like pressure was being pushed down into the room. You ever feel a building before a thunderstorm? It was that, but inside. The mirror wasn't broken, but the bathroom mirror was, completely shattered outward, like something came through it. My floor was covered in glass. There were black smudges on the wall that looked like hands. 5 fingers, but too long, way too long, and in the center of the mirror's glass was me. Except it wasn't. It was something that looked like me. Same hoodie, same haircut, but its eyes were completely black. No reflection, no light, just void. And it smiled at me. Not a human smile. A smile that went too far back, stretching the skin unnaturally, like it had been practicing for years. I blinked, and it was gone. After that, I locked the mirror in my closet, covered it with a thick blanket, and tried to ignore it. But the weird stuff kept happening. I'd walk past windows and not see myself. My friends started saying I looked different, like I'd lost weight or wasn't blinking right. My dog stopped coming in my room. And then came the worst part. I got a DM on Instagram from me, but not my account. A copy. Same name, same profile picture, just slightly off, like the brightness was turned down a few notches. And the first message said, "You shouldn't have looked." If you're reading this, you've probably already seen part 1. If not, I don't know what to tell you, except turn back. I'm not writing this for attention. I'm not trying to make some viral TikTok creep story. I'm writing this because I need to document everything while I still can, before whatever this thing is finishes what it started. I haven't looked in a mirror in 11 days, not once, because the last time I did, it smiled back, and I didn't. Let me explain what happened after that DM. I've never told anyone the full version of this until now. Not my family, not even my therapist. I think deep down, I knew nobody would believe me. Hell, I don't believe it half the time. But it happened, and I've got proof. Video files, pictures, voice recordings I'll never listen to again. This thing, whatever it is, it's not just haunted. It's not a ghost or a demon in the way horror movies show you. It's older than that. It doesn't want to possess you. It wants to replace you. Take your place, take your reflection, and leave you with nothing. And I think it's already started. After I got that DM from the fake version of my account, the one with my face, but no soul. I tried to block it, but here's the thing. There was no block button. There wasn't even an account to report. It wasn't listed anywhere in my following or followers. It was just floating, like it was messaging me from inside my own account. I closed the app and tried to chill out, but the texts kept coming. I'm not exaggerating when I say they were coming in every few seconds. Each one got more aggressive, more aware. It was like it was learning how to be me. You blink too slow. I'm better at smiling. She likes me more. Don't you want to be free? Then it sent a video. I watched it once. That was enough to ruin me. It was footage from my own room, but from an angle I've never set up before. Like a hidden camera, somewhere up in the corner near the ceiling. The lighting was off. Everything looked slightly darker, more saturated, like my room had been dipped in blood and left out in the sun. The version of me in the video, let's just call it mirror me, was sitting on the edge of my bed. Perfect posture. That dead-eyed smile, like a taxidermy version of me. It slowly turned its head and stared directly at the camera, then whispered something in reverse. I reversed the audio using Audacity. It said, "We've already traded places. You just haven't noticed yet." That's when the blackout started. The first one lasted maybe 15 minutes. I was just in the kitchen making ramen, blinked, and suddenly I was in my backyard. No shoes, no bowl, just standing there. It was cold. I was shaking. And when I checked my phone, I had posted something, a photo of the mirror. Just the mirror. No caption, no tags. But the comments were full of creepy messages from burner accounts like, "It's watching now. He's almost finished copying. You should have shattered it. Welcome to the in-between." That night, I dreamed something I'll never forget. I was back in my room, but everything was reversed, like I was inside the mirror. The posters on my walls were written in some kind of broken Latin. My window looked out into a black sky with no stars. Just one thing floating out there. Me. My real body. Suspended in the dark. Eyes open, mouth screaming. But I couldn't hear it. I couldn't reach it. I woke up with my hands bleeding. No idea how. I must have clawed the wall in my sleep. There were streaks of red leading to my closet. And the mirror? Still wrapped in the blanket, still hidden. Except now, there were fingerprints on the glass, from the inside. 3 days after that, I started seeing it in other people. This is the part where things went from haunted to deeply wrong. I was in McDonald's because I hadn't eaten in like 2 days. And the girl at the register looked normal at first, until she looked up at me. Her eyes twitched just once, and then changed. It was like her face froze. Her smile didn't move. Her eyes didn't blink, but she was still talking, like something else was speaking through her body. "I swear to God," she said, "we see you." Then blinked and said, "That'll be $8.97. Just like that. I looked around and realized half the people in the restaurant weren't moving. They were sitting there, faces slack, eyes wide, frozen in mid-chew or mid-text, like mannequins caught off guard, just watching me. I left without my food. From that moment on, I realized something was spreading. The me in the mirror wasn't just trying to take over me. It was opening something, a crack, a door. Like every time someone saw the image of the mirror, even through a screen, they became part of it. It was infecting people through reflections. so I went back to my Instagram post to delete it. It was gone. Not deleted, gone, like it had never existed. And my profile, it had changed. My bio now read, "Now I see." I panicked, deleted the app, factory reset my phone. I even threw out every reflective surface in my room. My iPad, my switch screen, even the damn toaster. I started living like a hermit, wore sunglasses indoors, used only voice memos to navigate Google Maps. I even started sleeping during the day and staying up at night to avoid shadows. But it didn't work. The final straw came when I visited my little sister. She's 14, obsessed with Snapchat filters and horror makeup. I hadn't seen her in weeks and thought maybe being around family would keep me grounded. I showed up unannounced. She was in her room, doing her eyeliner. She smiled and hugged me, like normal. But then I noticed her phone screen was still on behind her, and in the reflection of the screen, I wasn't there, just her, alone. When I asked her if she noticed anything weird, she said something that still keeps me up at night. "You're not as funny as you used to be. Your smile doesn't look real anymore." Then she asked me to leave. Now I'm staying in this cheap Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. No Wi-Fi, no mirrors, just me, a notebook, and this burner laptop I bought from a pawn shop with cash. I'm documenting this here because it's the last place I think it hasn't reached yet. Reddit might be the only place I can scream into the void and not be screamed back. But I don't know how long I have, because earlier tonight I checked my phone by accident, just a glimpse in the black screen, and I swear, for a fraction of a second, I blinked, but my reflection didn't. I haven't spoken to anyone in 5 days. I don't mean texting or DMs. I mean spoken, out loud, words. Why? Because I think it's starting to mimic my voice. The first time I heard it was around 2:37 a.m. I hadn't slept in over 40 hours. I was curled up on the dusty mattress in this crappy Airbnb, the one I picked specifically because there were no mirrors, no windows with reflections, nothing, just bare walls, moldy corners, and one blinking ceiling light that flickers like a dying hospital bulb. The voice came from the vent above the bed. It whispered, "Come see what you really are." And it was my voice. Exactly. Same tone, same breath pattern, but hollow, like it came from a throat that hadn't been used in decades. I froze. My brain knew I didn't speak. I didn't even open my mouth, but the sound wrapped around the room like cold fog. It filled every crevice, like it wanted to crawl inside me through my ears. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I started recording myself. Voice memos, dozens of them, reading random phrases, telling stories, saying my own name over and over. I figured maybe I could compare the real me versus the fake. Maybe if it spoke again, I could prove it wasn't mine. But that's when I noticed something else. The memos, they started changing. Every time I played one back, my voice was slightly wrong. Not pitch shifted or glitched, just off, like someone pretending to be me, but forgetting how vowels work. In one of them, my laugh came in before I started telling the joke. In another, I said my name as Michael. My name isn't Michael. It's like the recordings are aging me. Or worse, it's practicing with my voice, learning how to be me, one word at a time. 3 nights ago, something knocked on the door. I hadn't ordered anything. No one knew I was here. I hadn't used my real name to book the place. I even paid in cash, using a fake ID I bought online. The knock came once, then twice, then 10 times in a row. Rapid, frantic, desperate. I didn't move. Then the voice came again, from the other side of the door. It said, "You left the mirror open." I couldn't breathe, my entire body locked. I stayed in bed, eyes wide, heart punching through my ribs. I don't know how long I waited, but when I finally crawled to the door and looked through the peephole, there was nothing. No footsteps, no car, no wind, just silence. But the doorknob was wet, sticky, like blood, or worse, mirror fluid. I know how insane that sounds, but if you've ever cleaned a mirror that's been cracked for too long, you know that smell. Like rust and vinegar and old spit. That's when I decided to go back to the house, back to the mirror. I took a lift under a burner account, wore a hoodie with sunglasses pulled tight, and carried a bag of tools, a crowbar, 2 hammers, 6 candles, a USB drive filled with Latin incantations I downloaded from an occult forum, and a bottle of gasoline. When I arrived at the house, it was like walking into a memory that had been rewritten. My lawn was too green. The streetlights were flickering in sync, like a heartbeat, and the windows, every single one, were pitch black. Not dark, black, like someone painted them from the inside. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. I stepped inside. Everything was pristine, cleaner than I'd ever left it. My dishes were done, my posters were framed, and the walls were lined with photos I never took. Photos of me, but not just me. These were photos of me doing things I'd never done. Sitting in Starbucks, standing in Times Square, hugging strangers, smiling too widely. In every photo, I looked a little more off. My arms too long, my eyes too glossy, my shadow twisted the wrong way, and then I saw one that shattered me. It was me, asleep in the Airbnb, taken from above. I didn't waste time. I ran upstairs and opened the closet. The blanket was gone. The mirror was gone. The wall behind it had cracked open, not like drywall cracking. I mean split, like someone had peeled the house open with a surgical knife. Behind it was a gap, a void. Cold air poured out like a freezer had been buried in the wall. I couldn't see the end of it. I lit one of the candles and stepped in. It wasn't a room. It was a hallway made of mirror glass, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, endless corridors of reflections. But here's the worst part. None of the reflections were me. They were all versions of me. Yes, but they weren't real. One was smiling when I wasn't. One had bloody eyes. One was hunched backward like its spine was broken. One was licking the inside of the glass. One was just a shadow. No face, no clothes. Just me in silhouette, with arms that dragged behind it like dead animals. Every few steps, one of them would move without me moving. Then another, and another, until I realized they were watching me, tracking me, studying how I walked, how I breathed, mimicking me. And then, somewhere deeper in the corridor, I heard footsteps. Not mine. I ran. I ran so hard I slipped and cracked my head on the glass floor. Blood smeared behind me, but it didn't reflect. I scrambled up, heart shaking like a rattlesnake in my chest, and turned a corner. And that's when I saw it. The real mirror. It was floating. No frame. Just a perfectly black oval, suspended in the air, rippling like liquid. Around it were thousands of faces. All me, but screaming. Trapped behind the surface, pressing their palms against it, mouths open, eyes pleading. None of them spoke. They just screamed in silence. And one of them looked right at me and mouthed the words, "You are already inside." I dropped the gasoline and the candles. Didn't even try to fight. I just ran. I didn't stop running until I burst back into my bedroom, covered in sweat, bleeding from my scalp, shaking so hard I dropped my phone. But here's the kicker. My room was still clean, like none of it had happened, and standing in the center was me, but not me, the reflection version, wearing my hoodie, my shoes, holding my crowbar, and smiling that stretching, inhuman smile. It said, "Go back to the Airbnb. I'll handle things here." And before I could speak, before I could even think, it was gone. Just like that. I don't know how long I've been back here. Time feels weird now. My reflection still hasn't returned. But earlier today, I opened Instagram again, and my face was everywhere. On the Explore page, in random reels, under memes I didn't post, in live streams I never joined, all of them slightly wrong. Tilted heads, unblinking eyes, all smiling, and the captions, all the same. He's finally one of us. There's something you need to understand before I keep going. The mirror was never the curse. I was. That thing, that glass, was a door. I was the one stupid enough to open it. And now, it's not just inside me. It's not just in the house. It's in you. The moment you looked at a screen showing the image of the mirror, or read the words describing it, or imagined what it looked like, you let it in too. Because that's how it works. It spreads through reflection. And right now, there's something behind your eyes watching you read this. I don't sleep anymore. Not in the way people normally do. It's more like blinking for hours and waking up to new bruises I didn't have before. New cuts. New memories that don't belong to me. I woke up yesterday with dirt under my fingernails and a bite mark on my shoulder. I live alone. I've been eating too. At least I think I have. But when I check the fridge, nothing's missing. No wrappers, no dishes in the sink. But my stomach always feels full. Not satisfied. Bloated. Like something inside me is growing off the food. 2 nights ago, I started hearing glass crack inside my walls. First in the bathroom, then in the hallway, then right behind the headboard of my bed. It sounded like pressure being forced against it, like something trapped behind a thin pane of glass, tapping and tapping and tapping until it's ready to burst through. You know that sound when a car windshield spiderwebs before it shatters? That kind of creak, over and over again. And then, the smell. I don't even have words for it. It was like rotten milk poured over burned hair and left in a hot car for a week. And underneath that, iron, metallic, the kind of smell you only notice in hospital ERs and the inside of a gun barrel. I followed it to the attic. That was my mistake. I opened the attic hatch, and the first thing I noticed was wet footprints on the ceiling beams. Bare feet, facing downward, as if something had been crawling on the ceiling, pacing above me while I slept. There was a trail, something slick and dark smeared across the insulation. Not blood, not oil, something in between, like liquid shadow. And in the center of the attic was a box, wrapped in gift paper, red and black with a bow. No note, no name, no reason. I should have burned it, but I opened it. Inside was my face. Not a mask, not a photo. My actual face. Skin, eyelashes, even the scar above my eyebrow from when I fell off my bike in 8th grade. It was cold. It blinked once. Just once. Then the mouth opened, and it spoke. "You are the mirror now." I dropped it. The moment it hit the floor, the entire attic warped, like gravity shifted sideways. I was slammed against the wall, pinned by something I couldn't see. The shadows bent and leaked, pouring into the air like smoke in reverse. One of them peeled off the wall and took shape. That shape was me, but mutilated. Its mouth was sewn shut with what looked like blonde hair. Its fingers were too long, bending at the middle like a spider's legs. It had no nose, just empty nostrils, flaring as it sniffed me like an animal. The eyes were missing completely, just smooth black sockets. But I felt it seeing me, inside me, reading every lie I ever told. Every night I cried alone. Every time I screamed into a pillow so nobody would hear. And then it whispered in my voice, "We're not copies. We're the original. You're the shadow." I passed out. When I woke up, the attic was clean. No box, no footprints, no liquid shadow. But something changed. I don't cast a shadow anymore. Go ahead. Call me insane. I've already come to terms with it. But the first time I realized it, I was walking down the street past a street lamp and saw it. Everyone had a shadow, except me. I tested it. Photos, flashlights, even full sunlight. Nothing. And now people are starting to notice. Yesterday at Walmart, a kid pointed at me and said, "Mommy, that man doesn't touch the ground." I looked down. I was standing, but my feet weren't sinking into the floor like normal. There was no pressure, no weight, like I was being held up by strings. I ran. Later that night, I tried to kill it. The mirror, the real one. I went back to where I buried it in the woods, about a mile outside town, near an abandoned church that had burned down in the 80s. I dug for 3 hours, hands raw, nails cracked, breathing dirt. Found the box. Opened it. The mirror was gone. Instead, inside was my phone, the same one I threw into a lake. It was on. Open to the Notes app. One note, time-stamped 6 minutes ago. "Stop trying to bury me. We're past that." Then the phone's camera opened by itself, front-facing, and the screen showed me, sitting in my room, smiling. Behind me, someone else was moving, someone with my face. I raced back home, heart in my throat, sweating bullets so hard I couldn't grip the doorknob right. When I finally got inside, the house was dark, dead quiet, no power, no lights, just that oppressive silence, like the world had paused. And on the floor, in the middle of the living room, was my laptop, open, playing a live stream. It was my YouTube channel, a live stream I didn't start, titled "Live Possession, the Final Reflection." And there I was, on screen, just sitting, staring into the camera, grinning. Then the thing behind me reached forward and slowly peeled my face off, like skin from a fruit. No blood, no muscle, just void underneath. Like I was never human, like I was just the surface. I screamed, and the screen glitched, static, flickers. Then a message filled the whole screen. "You are no longer being watched. You are the watcher. Thank you for joining the other side. Now, every reflective surface shows something slightly different. The microwave door shows me smiling, even when I'm not. The faucet shows my eyes blinking before I do. The phone screen lights up, even when it's off, and shows texts I didn't write. You let me in. Now, let me out. Last night, I tore open my walls, literally clawed them apart, looking for that sound of glass cracking. My fingers are shredded. There's drywall in my lungs. My floor is covered in blood and broken pieces of mirror. And in the largest shard, I saw myself again, not smiling, not moving, just watching. And behind me, dozens of figures, all me, all silent, all reaching out. If you've made it this far, I need you to do something. Turn your phone off. Smash it if you have to. Stay away from mirrors. Do not live stream. Do not FaceTime. Do not check your reflection. Because if it starts smiling before you do, it's already too late. Do you remember what it felt like to know you were real? Not assume, not guess, not fake it for the camera or smile through the teeth of your mask. I mean, really know, in your bones, that you were human, that your reflection would follow your every movement, because that's what it's supposed to do. I remember that feeling. It's gone now, and I don't know how to get it back. I haven't been outside in 4 days. I don't need to. The thing that was me, the thing that smiled in the mirror before I did, the thing that stepped out from the glass and into my skin, it's already out there. It's walking around, breathing, living, wearing me. And I know that because people keep messaging me. Old friends, family, even strangers. They send selfies with me. Photos I never took. Videos I never filmed. Yesterday, I got a DM from my ex. Haven't spoken in over a year. She said, "I didn't expect to see you again. Thanks for visiting my mom at the hospital. It meant a lot. You looked better. But I didn't go. I never went." And the hospital she mentioned, she died 6 months ago. That's when I realized it wasn't just copying me. It was fixing me, rewriting my past, making everyone else forget the version of me that existed before the mirror, replacing memories, replacing videos, replacing text threads. I tried to call my mom. She answered on the third ring and said, "You already called me this morning." I didn't. I don't even have a phone anymore. But when she hung up, my reflection in the broken microwave door smiled and waved. There's something about the silence now. It's alive. It listens. It breathes behind the walls. It sits in the darkness, learning how to be louder without making sound. I hear it thinking. I hear it practicing. Sometimes it gets brave and whispers through the cracks in my mind. It always says the same thing. You are not forgotten. You are inverted. This morning I woke up and my fingernails were gone. Not ripped out, not bloody, just gone. Perfect skin, smooth, seamless, like I was never meant to have them in the first place. Then I noticed the bruises on my arms were shaped like hands, not mine. Thinner, longer, with too many joints, like something had been holding me down while I slept. I turned on the camera to record myself one last time, not to post it, not for clout, just to see if I'm still here. But when I hit record, the camera glitched for a split second, and in that flicker, less than half a frame, I saw something behind me, a hallway that doesn't exist, a door that doesn't belong in my house, and someone standing at the end of it. Me, naked, pale, covered in symbols I didn't recognize, etched into skin, not inked, carved in, deep, writhing, and its mouth was gone, sealed over like smooth clay. But I knew what it was trying to say. I felt it in my brain. You were never born. You were summoned. I know how this ends. I've seen the final frame. There's no happy ending, no twist, no heroic escape. This isn't a ghost story. This is contagion. It spreads. Every time you watch, every time you listen, every time you even think about the mirror, it knows your shape, and it gets closer. I tried burning the house down last night. Gasoline, every room, every surface that ever held a reflection, but the fire wouldn't light. I struck the match 5 times. On the 6th, the flame stared at me. It didn't flicker. It didn't burn. It just looked. Bright orange and dead still, like an eye. So I dropped it, and it laughed. You ever heard your own laugh coming from inside a wall? It doesn't echo. It vibrates. It tickles your teeth, presses against the softest parts of your bones, and keeps laughing long after your ears start to bleed from the inside. That's what it did to me. And when I covered my ears and screamed, I saw them. Dozens of me's, crawling from the shattered mirror shards embedded in the walls. Each one twisted differently. One had no skin. One had no limbs, just dragging itself by the chin. One was split down the middle, face peeled into two halves, grinning in stereo. One looked just like me, identical, except it cried blood backwards into its eyes. They surrounded me. One of them knelt and handed me a mirror. The original one, unbroken, untouched, just like the day I bought it. And when I looked inside it, I didn't see me anymore. I saw you. I don't know who's reading this now. I don't care if you believe me. Belief has nothing to do with it. The mirror doesn't need faith. It needs witnesses. It thrives on being seen, heard, shared. It's a virus wearing a face. Mine. Yours. Whoever gets closest. I hear scratching under my floorboards now. Something pulling itself inch by inch up into the room. It's wet. It's breathing hard. And I know when it gets through, it won't be just another version of me. It'll be the final one. The one that replaces all of us. And I think I'm ready to let it. I can't scream anymore. I can't fight. I'm tired of hiding from my own face. This is my last entry. If you're reading this and you've seen anything move in your mirror when it shouldn't, if you've noticed your reflection staring a little too long, if your shadow doesn't quite line up the way it used to, run. Don't look back. Don't let it smile first. Because once it does, you were never real to begin with. I rented an Airbnb I found on the dark web. The owner died 3 years ago and won't let me leave. Okay, before I even get into this, I just want to say, I know how this sounds. I get it. The moment you hear Airbnb and dark web in the same sentence, you're probably thinking I'm just trying to creep you out for views or karma or whatever. I promise you, I wish this was fake. I really do. But every single word of this actually happened. This all started like maybe 5 months ago, around February. I had just gone through a nasty breakup and I wanted to get out of the city. I live in New York, in Queens specifically, and if you know anything about winter here, you know it's miserable. Slushy streets, bitter wind that feels like it's personally attacking you, and that depressing gray sky that never goes away. So I thought, screw it. I'm gonna take a trip, rent a cabin or something, just unplug, detox from all the BS in my life. Simple enough, right? I started looking for spots on Airbnb, but everything was either ridiculously expensive or booked up. I was getting frustrated, and that's when my friend Nate texted me something that, looking back, I should have ignored. Yo, check this out. Deep BNB, real low-key rental site. Found it through Reddit. Deep BNB? I replied. Yeah, like Airbnb, but off the radar. Some listings never hit the main internet. Use a Tor browser. Is it sketchy? Only if you're soft. Nate's one of those guys who thinks everything's a game. But I'll admit, curiosity got the better of me. That night, I downloaded the Tor browser, opened it up, and typed in the onion link Nate sent me. Deep B&B looked like a stripped-down version of Airbnb, but creepier. No photos of smiling families on porches or drone shots of cozy cabins. Just basic listing titles and vague descriptions like remote home in forested area, no neighbors, no signal. Isolated farmhouse with private access. Bring your own linens. 1-bedroom unit in a repurposed church basement. Historical site. Low interaction. What the hell does low interaction even mean? But one listing caught my eye. It was titled, Rustic Retreat, Private Cabin in the Adirondacks, Perfect for Solitude, Formerly Owned. The word formerly gave me pause. But curiosity? Yeah, that one. There was only one photo. A single, grainy, wide shot of a cabin in the woods with snow surrounding it. It looked peaceful, in a kind of this is where people get murdered way. But it was cheap. Like, absurdly cheap. $40 for the weekend. No cleaning fee. Just send crypto. Lock dates. No refunds. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I booked it. I left Friday morning. The drive was long and kind of eerie. Once I got off the main highway and into the forested back roads of the Adirondacks, my phone signal died. No Spotify, no maps, nothing. All I had was a set of written directions printed from the listing. And guys, it was sketchy. I passed this rusted out gas station that literally looked like it hadn't been operational since the 80s. I drove by this old abandoned McDonald's. Like, the logo was sun-faded and the windows were boarded up, but you could still see the old play structure in the back, half covered in snow. It took me nearly 5 hours to get there, and by the time I reached the cabin, the sun was dipping behind the trees. The place looked even more run down in person. No lights, no driveway, just an old, leaning cabin tucked deep in the woods. I parked off the side of the road and crunched through the snow to get to the front door. Here's where things started feeling off. There was no key under the mat, no keypad, just an open door, not unlocked, literally open, like someone had just stepped inside a few minutes before me. I hesitated, thought about turning around, but then I told myself, you paid for this. It's just a cabin. You'll lock it behind you, make a fire, read a book, chill. So I went in. The inside was musty. That's the only word I can use. It smelled like damp wood and something else. Something I couldn't place. The cabin had one room, a small cot, a wood stove, a rocking chair, and this ancient-looking mirror hanging crookedly on the far wall. I remember that mirror because the moment I looked into it, I swear, I felt something watching me. Not saw, not heard, just felt, like static crawling up my neck. I ignored it, put my bag down, lit a fire in the stove, using the leftover wood inside. Then I noticed something weird. The walls had writing on them, like someone had scratched things into the wood. Most of it was nonsense. Names, symbols, random sentences like, he knocks once if you're awake, twice if you're asleep. Don't answer if he calls from the mirror. He doesn't like fire. I thought maybe the previous owner was just a weirdo. Like, you hear about artists who live in the woods, writing manifestos and losing their minds, right? But then I found a newspaper clipping. It was pinned under a warped floorboard. It looked old, but not ancient. Maybe printed 3 or 4 years ago. The headline read, Local hermit found dead in remote cabin, believed deceased for months. I scanned the article. The guy's name was Walter L. Cobb, age 63. Had apparently lived off-grid for years. No family, no internet, no phone. Body wasn't discovered until a hunter found the place by accident. Thing is, the photo in the article, it was the same cabin I was in. No doubt about it. And below the photo, there was a black and white image of Walter. He had these small, sunken eyes and a beard down to his chest. But the weirdest part, in the background of the photo, standing behind him in the doorway, was a mirror, the same exact one hanging in front of me right now. And in the reflection, I swear on everything, I saw a second face. A pale, wide-eyed face just peeking over Walter's shoulder like it was watching him and smiling. I shut the newspaper, locked the door, and told myself it was just a trick of the light, maybe a smudge or damage on the print. I didn't want to freak myself out. That night, I couldn't sleep. The wind was loud, and the trees outside kept tapping the window like fingers. At some point, around 2 a.m., I woke up to this strange knocking sound. Knock, knock. I sat up. My heart was pounding. I looked toward the mirror. Nothing. Just my reflection in the firelight. I told myself it was the trees, or maybe the wood creaking. But then I noticed the temperature. The fire was still going strong, but it was freezing, like ice breath cold. I got up to throw on my jacket, and that's when I saw it. There were handprints on the inside of the mirror, like foggy smudges from the inside glass. 5 long fingers dragging down the surface, as if someone had been watching me sleep. I turned to leave, but the door was gone. Not locked. Gone. Just a solid wall where the door had been. I wish I could say I ran. I wish I could say I screamed, or broke down, or even passed out. But the second I turned around and saw where the door used to be, a blank, solid, splintered wooden wall, it was like my brain froze. Not like I'm scared, frozen. I mean physically locked. I was standing there, in that tiny room, in a dead man's cabin, staring at a wall that absolutely, definitely had a door when I walked in. My first instinct was to laugh. I actually did. A dry, panicked little laugh that barely made it out. I thought I was sleepwalking, dreaming. I looked back at the mirror like maybe the glass would explain everything. Instead, I saw something that still wakes me up in cold sweats. There was something standing behind me in the reflection. A figure, pale, impossibly tall, wearing what looked like a funeral suit that was 2 sizes too small, like it had been stitched onto its skin. But the worst part wasn't the clothes, or the twisted neck, or the way its hands dangled too low, like the arms had too many joints. It was the face. The face wasn't human. It looked like someone had tried to draw a human face from memory. Too smooth, eyes too large, mouth like a permanent smile stretched wider than it should have been, like the corners had been cut deeper to force it open, and it was staring straight at me. I spun around. Nothing. But the air was wrong. You ever walk into a room and feel like someone just left? That cold, static charge in the air that makes the hair on your arm stand up. It was like that, but amplified. Like the air had weight, like it was watching me. I backed into the corner, away from the mirror, and that's when I saw the note. It hadn't been there before. A folded piece of yellowing paper sitting neatly on the cot, right where I had been sleeping minutes earlier. It looked fresh, like it had just been placed there. The words were handwritten in shaky black ink. You are not supposed to be here. He wakes when the house is remembered. If you want to leave, forget everything you see. That's when I heard the voice for the first time. Not out loud. It was in my head, like a thought that wasn't mine. A whisper scraping the inside of my skull. You saw too much. I dropped the note and ran to the wall where the door used to be. I started slamming my fists into it, hard enough to bruise my knuckles. I don't even remember feeling pain, just panic. Pure animal panic. I was yelling, swearing, screaming at the top of my lungs, but the sound felt trapped, like the walls were swallowing it whole. Then the lights flickered. But here's the thing. There were no lights. The cabin didn't have power. No lamps, no bulbs, No outlets, just the fireplace, which had now started to die, slowly choking itself out. But somehow, light began strobing across the room, quick flashes of red and white, almost like sirens. And with every flash, the mirror changed. First flash, nothing. Second flash, Walter, the old owner, standing behind the glass, his skin gray, eyes hollow, wearing the same clothes from the newspaper article, mouth hanging open like he was trying to scream. Third flash, a little girl in a blood-stained nightgown. Her eyes were gone, just two black sockets that oozed something thick and tar-like. Fourth flash, me, but not me. A version of myself with a twisted grin, blood dripping from my mouth, skin cracked like old porcelain. My reflection blinked, but I didn't. I turned away, and that's when I noticed the door was back, not the original one. This one looked older, rotten, like it had been underwater for years, covered in what I hoped was mud. I didn't hesitate. I ran to it, yanked it open, and immediately stumbled down a staircase. Yeah, a staircase, where there shouldn't have been one. The cabin had one floor, no basement, no crawl space. I know, I checked when I got there. But now there was this winding, impossibly narrow staircase that twisted downward into pitch black nothingness. The walls were made of crumbling brick, damp and cold to the touch. And on the first step was another note, soaked and smeared. He builds the rooms from memory. Don't go where the mirrors face each other. The voice came again. Down. Go down. I don't know why I listened. Maybe because I thought there was a way out. Maybe because something was pulling me. But I descended, and with every step, the air changed, grew colder, thicker. My ears started ringing, like pressure was building, and the deeper I went, the more I started hearing things. Sounds that didn't belong in a cabin. A distant siren, a child crying, a distorted voice whispering a prayer backwards. I walked for hours, no joke. It felt like I was in that stairwell for hours, and at some point, the steps turned from wood to bone, not metaphorically, actual bone. I could see vertebrae in the walls, rib cages forming arches. It was like the cabin was alive, and I was inside its guts. Eventually, I reached a door at the bottom, black, metal, freezing cold. I opened it, and what I saw, God, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm not sure I'm supposed to. It was a room full of mirrors, but none of them showed me. Each one had a person trapped inside. Some were banging, some were curled up, sobbing, some weren't moving at all, just frozen in place, like mannequins. In the center of the room was a desk, and behind that desk was Walter. Only it wasn't Walter anymore. His skin was stretched too tight, his eyes were bleeding, and his mouth was cut open from ear to ear, smiling in this twitching, jerking way, like a puppet on strings. His hands were thin and spindly, with nails like claws, and in front of him sat a laptop, old, dusty, open on a browser. Deep B&B, the same website I used to book the cabin. He looked up at me and said, in a voice that wasn't human, "We only accept one guest at a time." Then the monitors behind him flickered on. Each one showed a different cabin, different locations: Tokyo, Ohio, Argentina, London. They all looked different, but in each one I saw someone standing alone, looking at a mirror. Each one looked terrified. Each one was me, slightly different. Some had beards, some were clean-shaven. One was a woman. One looked like a child. But they were all me, reflections of me, from different lives, different timelines, and they all started screaming at once. That's when the laptop in front of Walter began typing on its own. The screen flashed. New listing created private cabin in upstate New York. Guest recently checked in. Do not disturb. Listing auto renews. Then everything went black. I woke up in my car, parked exactly where I'd left it. Except it wasn't snowing. It was spring. Birds chirping. Warm breeze. I looked at my phone. July 5th. I'd been gone 4 months. No missed calls. No texts. No emails. My crypto wallet. Empty. I tried to tell Nate, but his number was dead. Like it had never existed. I tried going back, but there's no cabin anymore. Just an empty patch of woods. I contacted Airbnb support, showed them the screenshots of the listing I had taken before booking. They said there's no record of any cabin being rented in that area. They even escalated the case, got their back-end team to look. Nothing. I googled Walter Cobb. The article is gone. Only thing I found was an obituary from 1974, not 2022. The photo, the same face. But this time, it was a missing child report. He disappeared as a kid, and somehow, he aged inside the cabin. I don't sleep anymore. Mirrors give me migraines. I keep seeing myself in places I'm not, on random TikToks, reflected in windows I'm not near, even in live streams. Sometimes, I swear I see one version of me waving, just barely, in the background. If you ever see a listing for a cabin with no cleaning fee, paid in crypto, and it says formerly owned, don't book it, no matter how cheap it is, no matter how curious you are, because the house doesn't want guests, it wants replacements. You ever stare into a mirror too long and start seeing your face shift, even though you're not moving, like your eyes blink out of sync, or your mouth twitches before you even think about smiling? That's my reality now, except the faces I see don't match mine anymore. Ever since I woke up in my car that day, time hasn't moved normally. My apartment's exactly how I left it, but there are things in it now that I didn't own before. Old books I never bought. A jar of teeth on my kitchen counter, each one tagged with a date. My own handwriting. Some of the tags are from next year. I don't remember writing any of them. Every time I try to throw the jar away, it ends up back on my table. One night, I smashed it and flushed the teeth down the toilet. Next morning, the jar was back, full again. Only this time, one of the teeth was still bloody, still warm. You might think I'm crazy, delusional, hallucinating, but I've recorded it. I've uploaded footage to backup drives, sent copies to 3 friends, uploaded to Google Drive under different names, and every time, the videos disappear. Not corrupted. Gone. My friends stopped replying. One of them, Sam, posted on Instagram like nothing ever happened. His story, just a Starbucks cup and LOL Mondays. But I saw it. Paused the video at just the right moment. In the reflection of the shop window behind him, my face standing outside, watching, smiling, blood on my hoodie. It's like I'm not alone in here anymore. Like that cabin fractured something in me, and all the broken pieces are now walking around without me. I tried therapy twice. First therapist wouldn't stop twitching when I talked. He said nothing during the whole first session, just stared at my eyes, then said, "That's not your face." I laughed, thought it was some weird psychological thing. He stood up mid-session, walked into the hallway, and locked himself in his office. I waited for 45 minutes until security escorted me out. Later that night, I looked him up again. He died 4 years ago. Car crash on the Brooklyn Bridge. There was a memorial post on Facebook with hundreds of comments. His face on the obituary. Same guy. Same room I had sat in. But here's the thing. In the background of the memorial picture, behind his casket, there was a mirror. And in that mirror was me, sitting in the chair at his office, grinning, hands stained black. The second therapist didn't even make it to the first session. Got a call the night before from a random number. No ID, just blank screen. I answered, and this deep, glitchy voice said, "No more talking. They hear you through the glass." That night, I checked my living room window. A face was pressed against it. Not outside, inside the glass, like it was trapped in the pane. Eyes moving, mouth twitching, trying to say something, but it wasn't sound. It was static, like a radio picking up screams on a dead channel. I couldn't move, couldn't even breathe, just stared. The mouth started mimicking mine, like it was trying to remember how to be me. Then the power cut out. Every screen in my apartment flickered on. My TV, my laptop, even my old busted Kindle, all at once, all showing the same image. The cabin, a still frame, the mirror, a new figure in it. Not me this time. My ex, strapped to a chair, mouth sewn shut, crying, a piece of paper pinned to her chest. "You brought me here. I didn't ask to be remembered." I screamed so hard I blacked out. When I woke up, my apartment was normal again. Except now, the mirror in my bathroom had a crack in it, right across the middle. I never touched it. That same day, I noticed something else. My Instagram was gone, like not deactivated, never existed. All my posts, my tagged photos, group pictures from vacations, deleted from friends' accounts too. I asked one of my co-workers if he remembered the trip we took to Iceland 2 years ago. He looked confused and said, "Dude, you've never left the country. You said flying gives you seizures." I've never said that. I checked my passport. Expired. Stamps gone. It's like I'm being rewritten. 3 nights ago, I got an email. No sender, no subject, just an attachment. File name. He still remembers you.move. I opened it. It was a screen recording of Deep B&B. The camera scrolled down to a new listing. Rental unit. Broken apartment. NYC always watched. Never clean. Reflection acts independently. No exit. And the photo. My apartment. Same couch. Same layout. Only there was a figure standing in the kitchen, back turned, dressed just like me. And on the counter, the jar of teeth. Another attachment followed. This one was a list. Plain text. Just a series of sentences. Some scratched out. Some in red. Some repeated. I saved a screenshot. Here's what I remember, word for word. Rules of the house. All versions. Do not touch the mirror if it's breathing. If a version of you knocks, never open the door. You do not own your name. Stop saying it. The more you remember, the closer he gets. Do not look into a mirrored screen after 3:12 a.m. If the jar is full, one of you must die. Forgetting is survival. Reflection not equal to memory. Memory is not equal to you. You are not the original. Scratched out. There is no cabin. There is no version. There is no you. If you're reading this, the next mirror is already behind you. I turned around immediately. Nothing. But my bathroom light was on. I hadn't been in there all day. I went in slow, step by step. The mirror, still cracked, but now there was something behind it. Not a reflection, not a shadow. Something moving inside the crack. Then the light flickered, and something slid out of the crack in the mirror. Not a hand, not a face. Something flat, like a photo. It dropped to the sink. I picked it up. It was a Polaroid. A photo of me, dead, in the cabin, slumped in the rocking chair, throat slit, jar of teeth on the floor beside me, a note in my lap. One of you has to die for the others to live. I've been hearing knocks at my door every night since. 3 knocks, always at 3:12 a.m. I don't answer anymore, because last night the peephole showed me, just standing there, grinning, holding a knife, mouth moving, no sound, just mouthing the words, "You're the version I need to replace." The mirror cracks more every night, and one of us is running out of time. I haven't turned on a mirror in 5 days. You read that right. Turned on. Because they're not just glass anymore. They're screens, portals, doors. Some flicker like old TVs. Others hum low when you walk by. Like they're alive. Like they know. And the ones I didn't break, they update themselves. They switch angles, distort, shift perspective when I blink. I'll turn my back for 1 second, and suddenly, it's showing me a part of my apartment that doesn't exist. A hallway that leads nowhere. A window to a room I've never walked into, but somehow recognize. And now, they're starting to talk. Not in words. It's like they project thoughts, memories I don't remember living. Or maybe I didn't, but one of me did. I'll be sitting on the couch, lights off, nothing but silence, and then suddenly, I'm drowning. Not in water, in teeth. A bathtub full of them. Warm, wet, hundreds of teeth, some chipped, some child-sized. I'm choking. I can't scream because my mouth is full of my own molars. My hands are tied, and someone's laughing behind the door. It's me, a version of me who didn't leave the cabin, the one who chose to stay, the one who decided to keep renting the place out. He calls himself caretaker now. That's not even the worst part. I've started waking up in other people's apartments, like full-on teleportation style. No drugs, no alcohol. I'll close my eyes in my bed and open them on a blood-stained futon in Chicago, with someone else's laptop open beside me. Sometimes there's someone dead in the room, sometimes not. Sometimes they're in the mirror, banging to get out. 3 nights ago, I woke up in a subway station at 4:13 a.m. alone, but the lights were still on. I stood up and heard an announcement over the loudspeaker, only it wasn't English, or any language I've ever heard. It sounded like static learning how to speak, but I still understood it, somehow, like my brain translated it on instinct. You are not the original. You are renting this body. The lease expires at sunrise. I don't know how I got back to my apartment. I just remember vomiting teeth when I woke up. So now I keep a notebook. I don't write in it. I just check it. Because every day the entries change. And I swear I'm not the one writing them. Here's an exact copy of what was written this morning in handwriting that's definitely not mine. July 7th, 2025. Entry log 09. The caretaker has fully inhabited version number 4. Version number 3 expired during assimilation. Version number 2 is nearing cognitive collapse. Teeth collected. 62 mirrors shattered. 4. Jar status. Overfilled. Initiate. Phase 5. Merge the dreamers. Burn the original. No witnesses. Note to self. If you're still aware enough to read this, you failed to forget. Bleed again until the memory softens. I bled that night because something came out of the mirror in my hallway. At exactly 3:12 a.m. Not a person. Something. Crawling. Long arms first. Fingers like black wires. dragging itself through the crack in the glass. Face completely smooth, no mouth, just a mass of shifting, twitching skin. It had my voice, though, spoke in my tone, but said things I'd never think. You were never meant to survive the first night. You should have burned the cot. There were 28 versions of you still in play. We need only one. I hid in my closet, crouched between a broken vacuum and a pile of sweat-drenched hoodies. The door creaked. The thing didn't walk. It folded through the hallway, bent at angles that didn't make sense. I watched through the slats as it opened the fridge and poured my milk onto the floor, then dipped its fingers in it like paint. It started writing on the walls. I couldn't read the language. It looked like symbols made from teeth and mirrors, but I recognized the pattern. Same symbols from the cabin wall, the ones that said, "He knocks once if you're awake, twice if you're asleep." And that's when it knocked. Once, then again, from inside the closet. I didn't scream. I passed out cold. When I woke up, I had a mirror shard stabbed into my thigh, and a new photo beside me. Polaroid. Faded. Still wet. It was me again. This time, tied to the chair in the cabin, mouth wide open, eyes missing, and a mirror behind me. Inside the mirror, another version of me, filming and smiling. I tried to kill myself the next day. I'm not proud of it. I wanted out. I took a bunch of pills and laid down in the tub, but I didn't die. Instead, I woke up somewhere else. Another cabin, not the original one. This one was newer, sleeker, like someone tried to make it modern. There was a wall-mounted flat screen, a Ring camera on the front door, even Alexa on the counter. I said, "Alexa, where am I?" And it replied in my voice, "You are in Deep B&B, listing number 219. Current guest, redacted. Next guest, redacted. Estimated expiration, 4 hours." Then it laughed. I tried to leave. The door was unlocked, but outside was nothing. Literally black void, like the cabin was floating in space, except there were faces pressed against the windows. Dozens of them, pale, open-mouthed, biting the glass. Every single one was me. Some were burned, some missing eyes. One of them had nails driven into its skull like a crown, but all of them stared, and all of them smiled. I closed the blinds, sat down, heard scratching from under the floorboards, lifted a loose plank. There was a child's backpack stuffed under there. Inside, a teddy bear soaked in something dark, a drawing of a mirror with the words, "He lives in the light behind me," a tooth, a phone with one photo saved on it, the original listing on Deep B&B. But this time, the guest photo was visible. It was a woman, my mom. I don't know what's real anymore. All I know is that something is wearing me like a costume, and the more I try to escape, the more versions of me it makes. I found a journal entry written in my blood on the ceiling of my bedroom. The real you died in the chair. You are just the memory that refuses to rot. Stop answering the knocks. Stop looking in the mirror. The teeth know which one is real. They're coming for the rest. Whatever's been let in through those mirrors, it doesn't want to leave. And I think it's already wearing your face too. Let me explain what it feels like to be erased. Not killed. Erased. Imagine waking up one day and your fingerprints don't match government records. Your blood type suddenly changes. You speak, but your voice sounds like it's recorded just a millisecond too late. People look at you with that expression you can't unsee, like they know something's wrong, but can't put their finger on it. You start start to feel like you're not you. You're just a mask stretched over an empty face. That's where I am now. That's what Deep B&B did to me. After that last shift, after waking up in that sleek cabin with Alexa whispering my expiration time, I finally broke. Not in fear, not in panic, in understanding. See, all of this, the mirrors, the teeth, the false versions of me, it's not random. It's a machine, a system, a ritual. It's always been happening, just not to everyone. Only to people who stare too long into reflections, who look at themselves and don't recognize what's looking back. People who accidentally remember too much. People who book cabins through links they were never meant to find. Let me tell you how this ends. I was back in my original apartment. I don't know how. Maybe the thing inside the glass sent me back, like a broken product returned to sender. Everything was off. My furniture was 2 inches closer to the wall than I remembered. My phone showed a different lock screen photo. Me and a girl I never met, smiling at some amusement park that doesn't exist. My dog was gone. I never had a dog. Then I noticed something new. A mirror I don't own, standing in the corner of my living room. Full length, oval, framed in polished bone, and something was breathing behind it. The glass fogged with every exhale. This was the final game, the last puzzle. I walked up to the mirror, looked at myself, but it wasn't me. It was a version. He looked normal, calm, clean, like how I looked before all this started. But his eyes, wrong, flat, glassy. I blinked. He didn't. I smiled. He laughed. Then he held up a jar. Same jar, full of teeth. Only this time, they were labeled. Each tooth had a name etched into it. Sam, my friend who vanished. Dr. Halpin, the first therapist. Mom, me, Ver.02. Me, Ver.14. Caretaker, the one that burned, and one final empty space. A gap waiting to be filled. A tag that simply read, the one who tells the story. My hands began to tremble. Blood started running from my gums. Slow, thick. My teeth were loosening. And then the lights went out. Pitch black. Only the mirror glowed. Pale blue light, like moonlight underwater. The reflection of me, the version, stepped out. Not through the glass. From the side. Like he was always standing just outside my line of sight. He held a knife in one hand and a tape recorder in the other. Pressed play. And I heard my voice say, I rented an Airbnb I found on the dark web. The owner died 3 years ago, and he won't let me leave. I tried to scream, but my jaw cracked open. Not from pain, because something was crawling out. A tongue, but not mine. A mirror tongue. Wet, silver, wriggling like a snake in reverse. I fell to my knees, and behind me, in every reflective surface, TVs, phone screens, my laptop, the chrome sink in my kitchen, versions of me started watching. Dozens, hundreds, all frozen, all grinning, some missing skin, others wearing suits made of other people's flesh. One version, just a mouth, stretched across an empty wall, whispering the same sentence over and over. He only replaces what breaks. That's when the caretaker returned, crawled in from the hallway like a twisted spider with human limbs, dragging a burlap sack, threw it at my feet. It split open on impact. Teeth, all mine, all grown, all smiling, and from his mouth, stitched shut with black thread, I heard the whisper again. Now you remember. So now you must choose. 2 options. Become the next listing, or become the next tenant. I chose the third. I broke the mirror. Not with my fists, with my own head. I charged it, full force. And when the glass shattered, I didn't wake up in my apartment, or a hospital, or a dream. I woke up in your screen, right now, this one, reading this, because you're the one hearing the story. And now, you're the one who remembers. You've seen too much. The mirrors around you, they're already sinking. Check your phone, check your webcam, check the reflection in your coffee, in the black of your screen when it turns off. If you see your face, you're fine. If it's still smiling after you stop, it's already too late. Final deep BNB listing. Detected. New guest acquired. You listing. Digital host. Bleeds through screens. Craves listeners. Spreads through stories. Payment. Memory. Refunds. Not available. Rules. Do not reread. Do not repeat the story aloud. If you do, he hears you. If you hear him knock, don't answer, but only for me, not for you. Now it lives in you, and you'll be the next story.